kindly do that while we start now. So our trainer for today goes by the name Tato. She'll be training us on policy, assessing policy impact and effectiveness. Tato, you have the floor now. Thank you.
Thank you, Goodness. Am I audible?
Yes, please, you can proceed.
All right, thank you. My name is Tato. I am calling in from Gaborone, Botswana, which is in the southern part of Africa. And I'll be your facilitator for today's session on assessing policy impacts and effectiveness. So I'll just share my screen shortly. Oh, wait, let me, in the interest of saving our bandwidth, I will have my video off. All right. Okay. Thank you for joining in today's session, which is a series of trainings on the road to COP as we are preparing for our campaigns, our community projects, and moving forward post-COP. So on today's session, we'll be sharing on policy assessment and the impacts and its effectiveness. This signifies the global significance of climate change policies and their role in addressing environmental challenges. As we are attending these conferences, what do these policies mean for our daily lives? The need for a systematic approach to assess policy impacts to ensure tangible positive changes, making sure that we are using the same approach on assessing the impacts that these policies have on our daily lives, and if they're actually bringing about positive changes, or we are just meeting year in, year out without any positive changes going on in our lives. That is subjective to each country. So I will leave that one out. On the presentation, we'll cover key indicators. It will cover key indicators being greenhouse gas emissions, adaptation measures implemented, funding allocated, energy transition, public awareness, and economic impact, as you are going to go back into your respective countries to assess the policies that are being implemented. These are the key indicators that you can use. The monitoring and evaluation techniques that you can use, that is data collection, stakeholder engagement, and technology. I know in Africa, we have a huge challenge with stakeholder engagement and the use of technology because of the limited network connection and how our policymakers have structured the way that they do policy implementation. Another is going to be how we can suggest or advocate for policy improvement strategies by using different kind of analysis methods, one of them being comparative analysis, cost-benefit analysis, and a scenario analysis. Why is it important for assessment? Like any other plan that you do, it is important for you to evaluate, to take stock of your progress, to see if you're just, if the money that has been put into place, or the resources that have been put into place, and the infrastructures are beneficial to the communities, are beneficial to the nation. And also, it is important to assess policy impacts so that we can promote accountability, or to hold our policymakers accountable for the commitments that they have made There's going to be a case study towards the end that I'm going to share, but the case study is based on Botswana. You can contextualize it as I will share more on that. And the effectiveness of assessment can guide future policy improvements over time as you be analyzing your respective policies. It's important to note the gaps and improvements that need to be made so that you can advocate them accordingly and suggest respectively to your policy makers. It is also important to have accurate assessments to aid optimal allocation of resources, preventing wastage, and ensuring efficient outcomes, which is one of the key weaknesses that we have in our African countries. It is also important to assess policies so that you can have buy-in from the public or all stakeholders to build trust and encourage them to, not just for politics. I know sometimes you have, when politics or elections are coming up, and there are all these initiatives that come up to build trust and encourage us as the nation to engage with our policymakers, to engage with our world leaders, and then they don't see them through. So it's important that to assess and monitor and evaluate so that you can be able to track the progress that has been made, to actually track if another initiative that is being implemented, if it's not a copy and paste of a previously failed policy or instrument or mechanism, that shouldn't be adopted or tabled in the first place. When we move on to the key indicators and metrics, covering greenhouse gas emissions reductions, there are instruments that can be used to evaluate how far we have moved away from the greenhouse gas emission reductions or the commitments that we have made as a country, as a continent, as a global sphere. One of the challenges that we have, especially in Botswana, is being able to track these emissions because we don't necessarily have the tools and equipment. And those are the things that contribute to the importance of having the adaptation finance. The other key indicator would be adaptation measures implemented. These are the resilient infrastructures designed to anticipate and withstand risk, so that we are not always in a continuous or perpetual cycle of mitigating climate change. We should be in a position to understand and to know the risks that are going to be happen, to minimize vulnerability and maximize useful use. One of them would be, an adaptation measure would be sewage drainage systems on roads to ensure that there's minimized flooding when there are rains going on. There would be implementation of coastal reefs for those living along the shoreline. Another key indicator would be funding allocated annually for climate-related initiatives and the impact on policy success. This means ensuring that funds are allocated accordingly and they are indeed going to climate-related initiatives. One other indicator would be the transition of energy. In Botswana, we currently have the coal mines, and energy transition would be meaning we move away from that to solar panels. We have a vast desert, and I understand there's a solar panel project that is being discussed or being implemented, one of those things. The other indicator would be public awareness. As now I'm reiterating on the energy transition and the solar panel, the solar power project that should be happening in Botswana. How many of the people in our communities, not only those of us who have access to internet, people who are out there in the rural and remote communities, are they aware of the policies that are being implemented? Are they aware of the impacts of these policies? Are they aware of the benefits and lack thereof? The other indicator would be economic impact, the importance of job creation in green sectors. Not only just job creation, but local employment. We're not saying an economic impact would be, say, for example, 1,000 jobs created. It should be localized so that the community can and should benefit from those policies. Now, moving on to monitoring policy implementation, why should we monitor policy implementation? This provides feedback on the effectiveness of policies, programs, and services. If you remember, I had mentioned that monitoring or assessing policies is important so that you can keep track of the policies or initiatives that are being brought up year in, year out, especially around these case-sensitive times of elections, to see if the policy or initiative that is being tabled or being adopted, what are the benefits of it? Has this something similar been tried to be implemented, and has it failed? Has it success? You can also use other countries with similar environments to check the success rate of that policy. Monitoring policy implementation also requires regular data collection, management, and utilization for reporting and for record keeping. You are also encouraged to use technological tools like satellite imagery and IoT, which is the Internet of Things, for real-time monitoring. Google does have a few apps where you can monitor air pollution, you can monitor the emission of greenhouse gases. I will look for some links that we will share respectively with your contact persons that you can take a look at and see how moving forward you can implement or use them to advance your policy assessments. The evaluation techniques I had mentioned cover comparative analysis, which is a benchmark process against similar policies and different geographical areas to provide valuable insights. You can use, for argument's sake, global north versus global south. You can use Botswana versus Nigeria. And you can use Botswana and Poland. I am aware that Botswana and Poland has a similar air pollution reporting or reporting cases. So those are some of the similar things that you can use to compare and analyze on your progress and make those make that advocacy respectively. There's also the cost-benefit analysis, a weighing of economic outcomes against implementation costs. Is it beneficial to implement that policy versus focusing on developing or capacity building of your communities respectively? Those are some of the things that it is important, as we had previously mentioned in other sessions, to know the budget, to be able to analyze and understand deeply what it entails and who the implementing partners are and what the ethical considerations are. These also factor into the cost benefit analysis. Another one would be a scenario analysis. This is analyzing different scenarios, the pros and cons of what the policy entails. Now, as you are assessing the impacts and effectiveness of policies, it is important using the different techniques that we have mentioned before. You will identify some gaps and the need for improvements. So use qualitative and quantitative assessments for evaluation and policy iteration, which means that you are not only looking at the impact or the number of jobs created, but you are looking at case sensitive information, which allows you to see versus simultaneous results against the policy. In addition to the World Resource Institute, which will teach you how to measure the impact of climate change policies, I will share some more references from Google that will assist you to develop your own case studies. And I am going to give you an assignment. So moving forward, let us look at Botswana, a case study of Botswana, the renewable energy policy in Botswana. The goal is to achieve 20% renewable energy contribution to the national energy mix by 2030, and the policy is named Renewable Energy for Sustainable Future. The key elements here are incentives for solar, wind, and hydropower projects, feed-in tariffs, and capacity building programs. From this case study, the selected indicators, this is qualitative and quantitative, is renewable energy capacity, installed solar, wind, and hydropower capacities, greenhouse emission reductions, the reduction in carbon dioxide emissions attributed to increased renewable energy adoption, access to energy, this is the number of households connected to renewable energy sources. Accessibility also factors into affordability. The economic impact, how many jobs were created, and the investment that was put into the renewable energy sector. The data collection and assessment process would be collaborations with energy regulatory agencies and research institutions for data, such as the University of Botswana, the Ministry of Environment, regular monitoring of renewable energy project installations and energy production, qualitative and quantitative analysis of data for review and assessment. On those, our assessment results would be renewable energy capacity has increased. We have an increased solar capacity by 150%, wind capacity by 80%, and hydropower capacity by 40% over a period of 5 years. Greenhouse gas emission reductions that was achieved, we got a 15% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions due to renewable energy integration. We had 50,000 households connected to solar-powered mini grids and an improved energy access in rural areas. The economic impact was 2,000 jobs were created and an attraction of $100 million in foreign investment in the renewable energy sectors. What were our findings and insights? We had renewable energy. Our renewable energy targets are the policy was successful, and we can progress and move our target or goal beyond the initial 20% by 2030. The environmental impact was a reduction in carbon dioxide emissions, showcasing positive environmental outcomes. And the socio-economic benefits were job creation and investment attracted towards the project. And socioeconomic benefits in job creation move beyond just jobs created. This also includes the improvement of livelihoods. It also feeds into the education sector. It also feeds into the health sector, because all of these socioeconomic benefits are interconnected. And the lesson learned would be effective monitoring is crucial for an accurate assessment. Having accurate assessments and clear incentives, they drive private sector participation. One of the issues being in Botswana now is that we're losing a number of direct foreign investments because we don't have accurate assessments and reportings. And this also provides a holistic approach to economic, environmental, and social development. What are the policy iterations? The expansion of our targets, inclusion of storage. That means we have not only moved from renewable energy, we are now thinking of storing this energy, what that means for our communities, what that means also as a source of a diversification of our GDP. And rural and remote areas outreach means they also get to have access to energy as we are improving and working on this project. For a successful policy to be implemented, we need stakeholder engagement. This is not always the case. So ideally, our government agencies should collaborate with the respective institutions to get accurate data and insights. For energy companies to also share project data for assessment accuracies, because we all need to complement each other. And the key most important area is communities. How are these projects impacting our daily lives? How are these policies or initiatives affecting our communities? Who are the people that we should be implementing these for? And they are the ones who are supposed to be the main beneficiaries of these initiatives and policies. And then we will get on to our Q&A, but there's a quote, a favorite quote of mine on policy. It says, to assess the quality of thoughts of people, don't listen to their words, but watch their actions. So stay diagnostic even as you take action. Thank you. Back to you, Goodness. We'll open the floor for any questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Tato, for that wonderful presentation. That was very excellent, talking about policy assessment and using Botswana energy as a case study. We would like to find out from the participants. If you have any question, you can kindly indicate by raising up your hand, or you can put that on the chat box and we call you to speak, or we give response to your question. If you have any question based on what she has presented about policy effectiveness, we would like you to indicate by raising up your hands, or you put that on the chat box and we take it from there. Thank you. I want to believe that it was well presented and we all learned one or two things from this training this morning here in Nigeria. Okay, since we don't have questions, I'll call on some people to give us what they got from the training and how they can also apply this in their various countries. So I would like to call on Cecilia. Cecilia, if you can hear me, you want to unmute.
Yes.
Yes, please. We would like to get a feedback from you.
I don't have any question right now.
Okay. I want to also know if you actually learned one or two things from the training this session, just to get.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can you kindly share with us what
Oh,
you?
yes, I did.
Can you kindly share with us, please? Okay. While we're waiting for Cecilia, I would like to call on Joy. Correct. Would like to know if you know your response about this training about policy effectiveness and how this can be applied in your community or in your country. Yes, Joy.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I hope I am audible enough.
Yes, please proceed.
I want to first of all thank Sato for that wonderful presentation, because I think it is what I really needed, things about policy, because tomorrow the county government is holding like a meeting of for public participation about a new bill that was just recently um, written, so that they can start implementing things to do about like climate change policy. Oh, sorry. So I have really learned a lot from Sato, like about what kind of incentives can like even the county give in order for us to like move forward and to implement the the things that are inside the bill that they have set. And also the part where Tato said how many rural, especially rural people, not only people in the city, to know about this types of policies that the county government is coming up with, not only people who live in the city, but also how can that information also reach people, these types of policies and their benefits to them as well. And then also educating young people. She mentioned about educating young people about, the benefits of them, getting involved in green jobs. So that was also something else. And then just pushing the county government on just implementing these policies, not only on paper, but actually seeing them actually being implemented and being part of that. So that is what I have learned from Pato. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joy, for sharing that with us. I also want to call on Lynette. Lynette, you want to speak, what you have gotten so far from this presentation? Okay, so while we're waiting for Lynette, Theophilus, your hand is up. You can unmute and speak. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our presenter, she did a wonderful, job. It was inspiring. I mean, Botswana is inspiring. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the last quote, talked about, to assess the quality of thoughts of people, don't listen to their words, but their actions. And I think that's one of our biggest problem in Africa. Like, I'm from Nigeria, and even when we make policies, it's so hard for these policies to be implemented. And it's just inspiring to hear that lots of homes, not just in the urban areas, but in the rural areas, are being affected positively by these renewable projects. Yes, I don't know. Our Nigerian governments, we feel they haven't made up their minds yet on this because they are still very much involved in extractivism and fossil fuel issues. But we CSOs, I mean, we will just keep advocating, keep the advocacy alive in solidarity till we see a required change. So yeah, we'll just keep our hope alive and keep on engaging the government until they make it to the right.
Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you so much. I quite agree with you because I too am from Nigeria, and we know sometimes we have a lot of policies, but when it comes to implementation, that is where the challenge is. We have good policies, very good policies, but when it comes to implementing, it is quite challenging and not really taken into consideration. So thank you so much, Theophilus, for sharing that with us. Now I want to call on, okay, so before I proceed, I think we have a chat here, Nicodemus. He or she is saying that, Tato, can you kindly repeat the quote? So, Tato, you want to come in?
Thank you. The code says to assess the quality of thoughts of people, don't listen to their words, but watch their actions, and stay diagnostic even as you take action. It's an encouragement that despite the countless policies that can be tabled and put on the table that our respective countries have, let's not look at the words, let's watch the actions and what they're doing. And also, even as we are watching and looking at the actions that they're taking, let's keep them accountable and remind them and that you signed this, you ratified this, and this is what you're supposed to be doing. I think one of the other things that we tend to do is fear, because we know safety in some countries is questionable. So we aren't as vocal about keeping our world leaders accountable as we should be. I think first we can start with subtle moves, make sure in our respective networks we do take up space so that we contribute accordingly to the development and the implementation of these policies. Because on the other end of the side, if you engage our respective governments, they will tell you that they don't have a lot of youth engagement, because where they're getting out that information, which goes back to public awareness, where they're taking out that information is not where we are, and where we are looking for the government is not where they are. So let's look around our respective networks and see where we can follow and meet each other somewhere, and keep hoping for the change, like Theophilus was saying, keep hoping for change, keep hoping for improvement, and keep hoping for a greener planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tato. I so much love these quotes because action is what is needed when it comes to addressing some of these climate changes that we're having. And we should have less of words and more of action. And we have the power, we have the voice to speak up and call on the government and all stakeholders to take action rather than just saying words. Thank you so much. And I would like to call on Samuel Timothy, if you can hear me, to share what you have learned so far from this session. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, all. So far in this very section, I've been able to learn. The topic was assessing policy impacts and effectiveness. And this has to do the presenter or the facilitator when I telling us that this has to do with involving elevating that that this involve elevating the outcome and the consequence of implemented policy to determine the success in achieving a particular goal. And I want to say that it's a very great pity that we are in a world, or we are in an environment whereby our government or people don't really keep to the policy that they build, or the policy they actually made. And then she also said that to process with this policy making, that this typically involve collection of data analysis, measuring key indicators, and then comparing actual results and experimental outcome. That the aim of this is to provide insight whether the policy is making a positive difference or addressing an issue that leads to a desired change. So she really let us know the impacts of policy making, and then the kind of things that we should get from it, that is all about getting results, getting productivity, and then also to measure the positive differences by addressing issues and leading to desirable change. So that was what I learned basically today.
Thank you so much, Samuel, for sharing that feedback with us. That shows that we followed the training session. We have this from the course. She is saying that pressure from local indigenous communities and civil society, that is in bracket women and children, can push towards placing governments and multilateral institutions to play their central role. So our role is to create that pressure so as to implement those policies. I agree with you, because we have our role to play when it comes to making the government to take action. So that means we have to mount pressure. And that is why we are carrying out the campaign on adaptation in focus. And as you all know, the campaign is starting today, or already it has begun today. And this will run through the African Climate Week and African Climate Summit taking place in Nairobi a few days from now. So for us to push the government into taking action, we need to put pressure. And this will actually help when it comes to implementation of these policies. I would like to give one more opportunity to one of the participants to tell us what he or she has learned from the training before we close this training session this time. So who is the lucky person that will want to share his or her thoughts or what he or she has learned before we close the session this time? Okay. who is going to share with us? Okay, since no one is willing to speak, maybe I'll call on the last person. Derek Autumn, if you can hear me, please you unmute and then you have the floor to speak. Derek? Okay, if Derek is not available, we want to hear from Desire Eunice. Desire? So I think that's all. You can stop the presentation so that we can proceed. Yeah, thank you. Desire, do you want to speak? Okay, it seems we are scared of the mic. Iwanukwa. Sorry if I pronounced that wrongly. Kiwanuka Serena. Do you want to speak? Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, Dorcas, your hand is up. You can speak. You are the last lucky person.
Hello, everyone. Mine is just an addition. Thank you so much, Sato, for the wonderful and very informative presentation. I just want to assure us that we are really on the right track. And of course, implementing policies is not an easy thing, but we also have to know that not all African countries have already come up with those policies. And then those who have come up with them are struggling to actually implement them. So our focus looked towards, let me say, what are our investment strategies in regards to adaptation. We can make them focus on developmental ways in terms of adaptation. Like you can look at the community. Maybe it could benefit from better ways of agriculture. Maybe it could benefit from green bonds. Maybe it could benefit from insurance towards those people who are being affected by the climate change. So if you come up with projects that are focusing on the problems that are happening, through that we can push our governments to actually look at these policies. And then we can also attract foreign investors, public and private investors with a projects with alongside our governments will see that we are, and they will also start with implementation partly because of dance. Remember, we have just been through the COVID outbreak, and then Africa also has a highly growing population as compared to the rest of the world. So we already have a bit of economic strains. So even if those policies are there, our governments struggle to implement them because they don't see the bigger outcomes. They don't see the bigger picture. And it is our role to actually make that noise, to advocate for the policies to be known and actually be implemented. And the best way to go right now is to come up with innovative projects that target those policies that they are coming up with in the country. So if you come up with such a project and there is a private investor, of course, eventually your government will pay attention to you. So beside us trying to involve them to make the policy, even us have a role to play, like social involvement in climate change. People don't know about climate change. So we are tackling a lot of things at a go. We are tackling a social involvement because if the society is involved, it equally helps us push for the implementation of those policies. I think I'm talking too much. That is.
Thank you so much, Dorcas, for sharing that with us. That was very, very good from you. We have this response from Nicodemus Cooper. I think he or she is saying that we cannot emphasize more the importance of policies and the needed strategic pressure from communities and stakeholders. Although those in the rural areas like us always seems to be a mindset challenge that only shows how much work we have as agents of change. And that is largely through policy understanding and capacity building of our networks until the wheel gets moving towards the right direction. Thank you, Nicodemus, for sharing that with us. So I think that will be all for the day. Before we close this training session on policy assessment and the effectiveness, we would like us to turn on our cameras. If you have designed your placards, please, this is the time we want you to present to, see, mine is here already. Adaptation in focus. So please kindly turn on your cameras, and we would like to take a group photograph. Yes, I can see some of us turning on already. Okay. Tato, if you are available, you can also turn on your camera, and then you also help us take a screenshot from your end. I have my own placard already here. Adaptation in focus. And yes, this is very beautiful. This is very, very beautiful. If you don't have yours, there's no cause for alarm. You can also design yours after this training session, and then you put it on the charts, and then we'll take it up from there. So I think I want to take the screenshots now. Yes. 1, 2, and 3. Please, you let me know if you still want to join in this. Yes. Sorry, I am saving it already. This is looking so beautiful. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we can have the normal group photograph without the placards now. Yes. So I'll be taking this now at the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yes. Thank you so much for that. And I do appreciate everybody for taking up this time to join on this training. You know, it is very important that we are well equipped with this knowledge so that we'll be able to speak up and then have a say when it comes to taking action at our various community level. So, Tato, I think that is all from my end. I don't know if there's anything else that Tato?
No, thank you. Thank you so much for everyone who attended. Thank you for the engagement. And I'm looking forward to more sessions. Please do watch the YouTube video, the recordings for the presentation, so that you can develop your own case studies and monitor the effectiveness of the policies that you have in your respective countries. So thank you very much.
Sorry, it seems somebody was missing out on this video call, on this group photograph. That was Nicholas, because I think I muted his video. So please kindly give me 1 minute, or let me say 30 seconds to take the last photograph, please, if that is not too okay. So Nicholas, I think yes. So I want to take the group photograph now again. Sorry for the last time, to allow everybody join on this video. For the last time, please, sorry. So sorry about that. And I'll be doing that now. And 1, 2. Okay. If you have a placard, you can still raise up while we do this. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Taking. Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining today's training session. I believe we all learned 1 or 2 things today. So the next training comes up on Friday. Will keep us updated about the link to register and join the training. Thanks so much, and do have a lovely day. Don't forget to join our campaign today using the placards, the video, and make your tweets, make your posts on social media. Adaptation in focus. Thank you so much, and